Hello, everyone, and we're here to take a look at Thomson et al.'s reimagining of school change, the necessity and reasons for hope. Okay, what does Thomson have to say about school change? He starts off by saying that the biggest challenge facing school systems is how to wind back all those stark differences in achievement that are born out of race, ethnicity, disability, gender, and class. And immediately we thought of Sir Ken Robinson's video that's from the first week of our course here, in which he discusses that schools are still these relics of industrialized economic models and approaches to education, and yet we're trying to meet the future by doing what we did in the past. And the past is defined by this one teacher, one classroom rows where teachers in the textbooks are the source of all information, and it's parceled out in these kind of finite units where knowledge is transferred to students via passive processes. The fill the bucket transmissive mentality that's based on standardized test results. Thomson talks about the necessity of school change. It's just a reality. We have to do it, and how school change can provide some hope for a better future. They also argue that school change is a complex process, and you have to pull together a plurality of ideas, drawing upon all your resources and then applying them in really creative, pragmatic ways that serve local contexts. Next, Thomson, has some advice for educational leaders, and first would be to create a culture of learning and develop accountability standards that's top down, bottom up, sideways, and inwards. You can see the reflexive nature of relationships and knowledge that are really important here, and that's what Wang was talking about in this 2015 article. Be wary of copy and paste reform efforts. Think of the common theory. What works in one place may not work in another, and you always have to recontextualize the application of school change to meet school needs and the community needs. Next, empower teachers, actually listen to them, allow for experimentation that Chitpin talks about with Popper's views there, and create a school culture of learning with the needs of the student at the center of that learning culture. The findings for Thomson, they matter for school change in the sense that they're arguing for a more targeted approach to school change that allows for specific contextual issues to be addressed. They're wary of standardization of learning objectives, content, and the expectations simply because it marginalizes interest and creativity for both teachers and students. Context matters, and understanding the landscape for school change includes spaces that are simply beyond the walls of a school. Will include community services like health services, social services, transportation services. We have to think about school change in that landscape. Finally, relationships matter, and there's got to be that flow of ideas in and around all sorts of positions of power and not simply top down. Thomson, this article connects to so many of our readings that we looked at, but the first one I want to talk about is the asset-based shift and disposition away from the deficit model that Fortner speaks about. So many aspects of there are viewing diversity as an asset, not as a hurdle to overcome. Next, I look at critical policy analysis, critical leadership. Ryan and Rotman speak of Lopez and the culturally responsive leadership, and this understanding that reproduction of privilege is a complex process that requires clear thinking and considerable efforts to redress. Next, we thought of Madden's Specters of Whiteness, DM's critical policy analysis, and again, Lopez, as we really have to look below the surface of our implicit biases and see what the heck's going on there. And finally, we all know we work within these systems, and so we have to find creative ways to maladjust or adjust or use discrete forms of activism as we work towards making the types of schools we feel proud that our kids can be in. Students.